Today we're going to be talking about dethroned beauty brands. This video was inspired by Samantha March. She was talking about it brands in the beauty space, and I wanted to do my own take on this video and give you my thoughts and opinions as somebody who joined the beauty community a little bit later on when, you know, makeup started becoming a part of my life as well. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. We are going to be talking about dethroned beauty brands. The inspiration for this video came from Samantha March, who was talking about like past it brands versus like new it brands. But today we're going to be talking about dethroned beauty brands. I just finished filming this makeup look, and it is for another video asking if these brands are in trouble. Well, today this video specifically focuses on like how hyped a product used to be or how hyped a brand used to be, and they have been dethroned and they've been replaced by other beauty brands. So if you guys like unfiltered makeup opinions and honest reviews, you subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and let's get into this video. These brands that we're going to be talking about today, they used to be so hyped on the platform, and they are still around as beauty brands. They used to be so hyped on the platform that things were like literally sold out from these brands. You had to literally dig into like consumer archives and like different wholesalers and different retailers to find this product because it was so hyped at one point. And honestly, like they have definitely been replaced by a new age of beauty, a new age of makeup brand, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So let's start talking about the first brand, and it's actually sitting in front of me. And so the first one is Anastasia Beverly Hills. I have a couple of palettes like in front of me here. And actually, when I think of Anastasia Beverly Hills, I can actually go back to like the Riviera palette, the Modern Renaissance palette, the Soft Glam palette, and all of those really resonate with me when I think of Anastasia, when I think of the hype that used to be around Anastasia. And I know that Anastasia didn't actually get her start in the eyeshadows. It was actually in the brow business, and she used to do brows, and that's how Anastasia came about. And honestly, circa, I want to say like 2015, 2016, Anastasia became very well known, and she started releasing these eyeshadow palettes. And one of the most popular eyeshadow palettes that you couldn't find for a really long time was the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. She came out with the Soft Glam palette, and then she had like the Norvina palette, and then she had the Riviera palette, and then she also has had other palettes in between that have just not really done very well. And honestly, when I think back and I listen to, like, I think back to YouTube archives and I think about the last time that Anastasia was like super hyped, would have to be the Riviera palette. The Riviera palette came out, I want to say like 2017, maybe 2018. And the Riviera palette was based on the Italian Riviera, and it was very colorful for Anastasia. It had a great formula. I still actually have the Riviera palette in my collection, and the Riviera palette was so hyped, so sought after, so wanted. You could not find the Riviera palette like anywhere. Like I remember going into my local Ulta and I was looking for the Riviera palette, and I couldn't find the Riviera palette because it was already sold out. So I ended up buying the Norvina palette because I wanted to try Anastasia's formula. I hadn't tried Anastasia's formula before. I really liked the color story of the Riviera palette, and I was like, okay, we're going to try it. And I got the Norvina palette. So I do have the original OG Norvina palette as well, like the purple palette with the purple felt packaging. I have that one. I instantly fell in love with the Anastasia formula. It was really easy to work with, really blendable, pigmented, like the foils were gorgeous and soft and buttery. And I loved the Anastasia formula. And I finally understood what people were hyping about the Anastasia palettes because they were so beautiful. And then all of a sudden, like, yes, some of her palettes have been really great hits in the past couple of years. Like the Nouveau palette was actually such a great hit. People are still talking about this palette to this day. But Anastasia used to have a lot of great hits. And then all of a sudden, she didn't have great hits, and she's not really talked about a lot in the beauty space. Like like people still do reviews of her product, but it's not as like hyped. It's not as sought after. It is not like as huge as what it once was. She was dethroned. She was dethroned by another brand, I really feel like. Okay. The next one that really came to mind, and it also came to mind when I was thinking about eyeshadow palettes because they used to be known for, and they still are known for, their naked palettes. Urban Decay. Yes, Urban Decay. Urban Decay used to be the it brand. Their original naked palette was like, you had to have the naked palette to be cool. That's how like Urban Decay used to resonate with like average everyday consumers and the beauty community. Having an OG Urban Decay naked palette, like you had gold in your hands. Like they were just so hyped. Everybody loved them. Everybody was recommending them. They were the it brand to have. I would go and I would ask my friends, I'm like, okay, what should I get for an eyeshadow palette? And everybody's like, naked palette, naked palette. You need Urban Decay. You need a naked palette. And that's how hyped they were. And I'm almost wondering, like, if I did do a poll today and I was just like, okay, what is your favorite eyeshadow palette that I should invest in? Not taking into consideration, like, all of the makeup I have, just like hearing your thoughts and opinions on, like, what is like the it palette of today, what would that answer be? And I don't think it would be Urban Decay, and I don't think it would be Anastasia Beverly Hills, to be honest. Like, I don't think it would be it at all. And like Urban Decay was known for their foundations, their concealer. They were known for the Stay Naked foundation, which apparently might honestly be getting discontinued. They were very known for their finishing products. So like their powders, their all-nighter setting spray was like so raved and so talked about. And then they also just came out recently with the Quickie concealer, which I do love this concealer. But Urban Decay used to be like the buzzword when it came to makeup. And nowadays I feel like it's just kind of like an afterthought. Like speaking of like popular eyeshadow palettes, and Morphe used to be like a number one it brand. Like everybody was like, if you're looking for an affordable formula and you get a lot of shades, they were all like, oh, Morphe, you need to buy Morphe. And I remember getting the 35F, which was the Falling into Frost palette, and I was like, oh, that's a lot of shades, but it was only like $20. And I was like, oh, that's actually not a bad formula. And then I tried some of the other palettes that I have now, like the ABH palettes, and then I started getting into indie makeup, and Morphe just kind of like fell off the map for me. But I really feel like Morphe fell off the map for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. And I remember, again, on like starting my YouTube journey, I was told like the Jaclyn Hill original palette was like the number one palette that you needed to get. And everybody was like, it's perfect. It's everyday. You have some pops of color. Like, you will love this palette. I remember a lot of people recommending it to me when I started like getting more into makeup. They were all like, Morphe, you need to try Morphe. Morphe's a great brand. You will love their brushes. And honestly, for so many reasons, Morphe has been replaced as an it brand. Obviously, like there's so much controversy behind that brand, but I remember them being an it brand. Like they were top of their game. Everybody loved them. Everybody wanted Morphe. You had to have Morphe, Morphe, Morphe. And at the end of the day, obviously they've fallen off the bandwagon for several reasons. I have a video on my channel about Forma Brands, who owns Morphe, and some of the controversy behind this brand. Speaking of controversy, these used to be it brands as well, Benefit Cosmetics, and specifically I'm thinking about their complexion products, like their blushes. This one's kind of like almost like a blush topper slash highlighter, and then this one is their Hoola bronzer. Like you couldn't go anywhere without somebody telling you you need the little boxes, you need Benefit, like they're the best in the world. And I remember looking for a bronzer when I first was like, oh, what's a bronzer? And everybody was like, you need Benefit, you need it. And I was like, okay. So eventually I got on the bandwagon, and this was like years after I was recommended this product because I was like, I can't really afford $50 for like a bronzer. I can't afford $40 to spend on a bronzer. Like that's just ridiculous to me when I can find a drugstore alternative. And I ended up finding a drugstore alternative. But at one point, like this is when I was first starting in makeup, I didn't want to spend $40 on a bronzer, and I was like, I was being pushed Benefit, 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 benefit. I remember walking into Ulta and they would have like benefit parties. My mom and I walked into Ulta Beauty one day and they were doing a benefit party and they were like, we're going to teach you how to do your lashes. And it was when the Big Girl Bang mascara came out. And the girl was like, I'm wearing it today and look how long my lashes are. And my mom she was looking for a mascara. She purchased it. I purchased it. And they used to do benefit parties at Ulta. And I'm like, do they still do benefit parties at Ulta? Please let me know because I don't think they do. I've been to Ulta on so many occasions and I haven't seen any kind of like benefit party like what they used to do. There are reasons why they fell off, but they used to be so hyped, so talked about, and I'm just like, oh, like they've definitely have been replaced and dethroned in recent years. I really feel like. Bare Minerals. I remember a time when I could walk into my local mall and there was literally a Bare Minerals store in the mall, along with a Sephora being down the road and in the mall, and a Sephora being in JCPenney and Ulta Beauty being down the road. Like there was a Bare Minerals store. I remember people working there and Bare Minerals was on the rave, it was on the hype. And when Bare Minerals came into their hype and their like season of being like the one of the it brands, I remember there were MLM companies who were coming out with like comparisons to the Bare Minerals, like Young Living did a comparison to Bare Minerals. That's a whole other different story. But that's how popular and hyped Bare Minerals used to be because everybody wanted the mineral powder veil. Everybody wanted the original foundation. Everybody wanted the Bare Minerals because it was a beautiful coverage. It was all mineral. It was like natural ingredients, you know. They were super hyped for that. And then I walked into my mall the other day and the Bare Minerals store is gone. It's gone. And when I go into Ulta, they have like a little teeny tiny display. When I go into Sephora, I don't even know if I can find them at my local Sephora anymore. Like that's how much like I can't find some of these brands anymore. The front runners for brands in Sephora are brands like Fenty Beauty, Rare Beauty, Charlotte Tilbury has really taken off, Patrick Ta, One Size from Patrick Starr, like even like these brands have really taken off in Ulta and Sephora and they have really just like kind of blossomed and come into their own and they have replaced these old it brands with like they're like the new wave of it brands. I definitely have to say that Rare Beauty is still an it brand and they definitely took the beauty community by storm and I feel like they've just blown people away with the affordability of the products because her products are actually decently priced for being like a higher end product, but they're to me for being a high end product, her products actually aren't that expensive. Like her mascara is like $20, which is like the same price as like any other mascara. If I remember, her foundation is like between $20 and $30, which for a high-end foundation like the Urban Decay Stay Naked, that's like a $40 foundation. Rare Beauties is not that much at all. Like her soft pinch liquid blushes, the big, big, big like canister, the big packaging of the soft pinch blushes are like $23. Whereas like you buy a powder blush from Urban Decay now and it's like $30 or $35. Sometimes they're $40. So I definitely feel like Rare Beauty has been one of those brands that's really taken the beauty community by storm because it offers like higher end makeup, but honestly her price points are really, really good. And there's also Natasha Denona, which I really feel has replaced Anastasia Beverly Hills, known for like the eyeshadow proportion. Like I feel like Natasha Denona has really replaced like Anastasia as being like an it brand for eyeshadows. Like you can now buy Natasha Denona at Sephora and at Ulta, and Natasha has made it more like accessible and easy for people to pick up like her little mini palettes for $27, and you can purchase some of her midi palettes and like her larger palettes. And yeah, it's a more luxury price point. This palette, I believe, was like $55 when you can spend $69 and get 15 shades from Natasha Denona and get a luxury formula. Definitely some of these brands that used to be it brands are no longer it brands for various reasons, but it's interesting to see like the ebbs and flows of like the beauty community and how it has changed even with my time being on the platform. And honestly, I'm kind of curious to see like what the new wave is going to bring in. Like, are some of these old it brands, are they making a comeback or are they dying out? Which I do have a video on that. I have a video about like, are these brands in trouble? So go check that out. But it really makes you wonder if like they're just like in a downward trump and they're going to go back up, or if they are really in trouble and something's going to happen to them. Thank you so much for watching my video on dethroned it brands, on brands that have been replaced by other brands. Like they're no longer in the popular crowd type of brands. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you consider subscribing and I hope I get to see you in my next video. Bye.